Hello and welcome to episode 184 of the Quiet and Strong podcast, especially for introverts. I'm your host, David Hall, and the creator of quietandstrong.com. This is a weekly podcast dedicated to understanding the strengths and needs of introverts. Introversion is not something to fix, but to be embraced. Normally, we will air each episode on a Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform. Leave a review or a rating. That would mean a lot to me, and of course, help other people find the show. Tell a friend about the podcast and help get the word out there that introversion is a beautiful thing. So I continue to have so many conversations where people say, David, I need my time alone to relax, reflect, recharge, but I also like people, so I can't be an introvert. To which I say, I like people too, but I am definitely an introvert. Most everybody wants to be social, and we all need relationships. It's a common misconception that introverts don't like people. Introverts often enjoy and need social interactions, but they might also prefer them in smaller doses or different settings compared to extroverts. I did a little research on Google, not very scientific, but I found it is likely that the percentage of the population that want no human contact is below 1%. So the population between introverts and extroverts is about 50-50. So 50% of the population are introverts, and most all of us need some human interaction, some socialization, some connection. As human beings, we like to make things simple. So some will mistakenly say, introverts are shy and don't like people, and extroverts are outgoing and, of course, love people. This is definitely oversimplified and is not accurate. Shyness is a lack of confidence, and both introverts and extroverts can be shy. In most cases, shyness can be overcome, and often an introvert can overcome shyness by understanding and embracing their introversion. And introverts like people, and we'll discuss their needs for social connection and how they may look different from an extrovert. So please, let's stop saying introverts don't like people or get drained by all people. So why does this even matter? We come with natural preferences in our personalities. These preferences are not going to change much over our lifetimes. And with our personalities come unique strengths and also needs. By understanding our strengths and needs as an introvert or as an extrovert, we can develop our strategies for success. As an introvert, your approach to areas such as leadership, networking, public speaking, many other aspects of life could look different from your extroverted friend. But by being authentic, we can really tap into our natural abilities. When you're trying to be something you're not, it's not as effective and can be very draining. So let's take the example of networking as an introvert. Let's talk about a typical networking event. You find yourself in a room of strangers, and it seems that you're supposed to quickly bounce from person to person and meet as many people as you can quickly. As an introvert, do you find this effective? I know I don't. And I've talked to many other introverts that don't either. I had a guest on that tried to do a networking event this extroverted way. And at the end of the event, when she got home, she threw all of her business cards that she collected that night into the fire. She realized she didn't make effective connections when trying to be something other than her authentic self. It's important to know what your goal in this situation is and what your strategies will be to achieve it. Who do you need to talk to? What conversations do you need to have? Do you need to do some preparation and planning to achieve your goals? As an introvert, you have a gift for thinking and are likely very good at planning and preparation. We're going to also talk about small talk, and it's often needed to get to the deeper conversations we want and need. Small talk doesn't always come easy to introverts. Sometimes we have difficulty thinking on the spot, and so some preparation for small talk, like in a networking event, can go a long way. So, in this example, it would be very helpful to know your strengths and needs as an introvert so that you can develop effective strategies for success that won't have you completely drained. So, for that person in the middle, as some say, do you know your strategies? Do you know your strengths and needs? So, let's say your ideal is to be strategic at the networking event and have certain deep conversations. That's what you should shoot for. But what if there is a reason you want to connect or need to connect with many people? You can absolutely find strategies that will work for you. I was talking to someone that engages in a lot of public speaking, and he finds it very helpful to connect with people in the audience ahead of time. That's often a good strategy, but he does find it very draining. So in this case, he could plan some talking points and think about his energy. Maybe after connecting with a few people, he could take a quick break before he starts again. I talked with another public speaker who doesn't do this, but instead he has an extrovert that works for him and he lets him work the room for him before his speech. We all have different strategies and no one size fits all. But introvert strategies are going to look different from extrovert strategies in general. We can work towards making some events more introvert friendly as well. I recently had Tom Norman on talking about the Introvert Social Club. He provides a quieter atmosphere, less people, and he has some structure around the activities. We could push for more introvert friendly events. We don't have to settle for the status quo. And I want to say too, there's many successful people out there that have come up with these type of introvert strategies without necessarily calling them introvert strategies. And that can be fine as long as they're being authentic and true to their nature. However, it doesn't help the conversation about strengths and needs of introverts and strategies for success. We need to continue to have conversations about introversion, extroversion, so that we have a common understanding of how we can work well together and support each other. So, again, let's stop saying introverts don't like people. Introverts are deep thinkers. So let's stop saying introverts don't like people. Introverts are deep thinkers and internal processors, and we do need some time alone. But absolutely, we have social wants and needs, and we like people. The energy discussion around introversion and extroversion is often oversimplified. As an introvert, I'm not always drained by people, but rather certain people and situations do drain me. The key is to know what drains you and how do you best recharge so you can make a plan. We do need quiet time for many things besides recharge. Keep that in mind, such as quiet time to focus, relax, recharge, plan, prepare, think, and dream. So, introverts like people, and again, they just may need them in different doses and may prefer different social settings. But introverts want to be social. And there aren't forms of social activity that make an introvert an extrovert. I do many things that somebody might call extroverted, but I say I'm an introvert and I'm doing some public speaking and I'm enjoying it. I had to come up with my strategies, but me public speaking doesn't make me an extrovert. So instead of saying introverts don't like people, let's make a list of things that introverts may not like, may struggle with, may need to come up with some different strategies for success. Let's talk about aspects of social situations that introverts may find challenging or less enjoyable. Introverts may not prefer large groups and crowds. And again, you're going to hear that I don't speak in absolutes. I say may not because there's all kinds of situations and no one introvert is alike. So keep that in mind. Introverts may feel overwhelmed or drained by large groups of people or crowded places. They often prefer smaller, more intimate gatherings where they can have deeper conversations. This, of course, is going to be very situational. What do you find challenging about large groups and crowds? Personally, I don't mind large groups and crowds, but I definitely have a hard time making connections in loud environments. I don't mind loud, and I love going to a good concert, but trying to talk in a crowded, noisy room is not my thing. So back to our networking example, I'm not going to love trying to bounce from person to person in a large group. And I'm really going to want to have a couple good, deep conversations. And that brings to the next point. Introverts prefer deep conversations over superficial conversations. Introverts may find small talk and superficial conversations less stimulating. They often prefer meaningful and in-depth discussions. There are two parts to small talk. First, introverts may struggle with thinking on the spot. The good news is there's strategies and techniques to get better at small talk. We've talked about this in other episodes on the show. But that's not the only problem. We may get great at small talk, but we don't want to stay there in small talk mode for a long time. We want to get to deeper conversations. Again, we love deep conversations. And guess who we're having them with? People. We like people. And introverts often don't enjoy constant socializing. Extended periods of socializing can be exhausting for introverts. We often need time alone to recharge after social interactions. A key word, though, is extended. We like socializing. We just don't want to do it endlessly. And there is a point where we've had enough fun and we're ready to go home. I was talking to a husband and wife, and she said, my husband doesn't like taking me out dancing. He said, oh, I love going dancing with you, but I'm ready to go home around midnight. And at 3 a.m., you're just getting started. Again, there's no right or wrong here. Both like socializing, but the length of time is different for each. I had another guest on my show that would never accept the invitation to go on the boat cruise. He wanted the freedom to leave when he was done. And of course, on the boat, you just have to wait till it goes back to the dock. So he didn't like that feeling of being trapped. And sometimes it's helpful to tell people at the event, hey, I'm going to come and have a great time. But about this time, I'm going to have reached the limits of my social battery. And introverts often have a preference for familiarity. Introverts may prefer socializing. Introverts may prefer socializing with close friends and family rather than meeting new people. Familiar environments and relationships provide comfort, stability, and greater opportunities for more of those deeper conversations, more of those meaningful conversations. And as we were saying, many introverts don't like loud environments. Noisy and chaotic environments can be overstimulating for introverts who may prefer quieter, more controlled settings. I think we like quieter environments when we need to think. And there's a whole other topic about being a highly sensitive person or other factors in preferring quiet environments. So as I mentioned, I don't mind loud environments if I'm not trying to think or connect with somebody. How about you? Do you like louder environments or does it just depend on the situation? And introverts may struggle with impromptu plans. Introverts often appreciate having time to mentally prepare for social interaction. So spontaneous social plans can be stressful for them. Again, no one introvert is alike. So some introverts are going to be much more spontaneous than others. But what's in common is we do like to think and prepare for certain things ahead of time. I can remember I was giving a group training with a couple other facilitators, and there was a couple times where they decided to change things up without telling me. And it left me a little speechless and unprepared. We need time to prepare, especially if we're discussing topics we're not as familiar with. However, as an expert in something, we may not need time to prepare. I joke that I could speak about introversion all day without any preparation. Introverts may struggle if they're only doing group work. In professional or academic settings, introverts may sometimes prefer working alone or in smaller groups. Large group projects can be overwhelming and may not play to the introverted strengths. The key word is sometimes. There's great value in group work. Some of the best ideas come from a combination of other people's ideas. However, please respect that introverts are going to come up with some great things with some time alone to think. And you need to find the right balance for you between coming up with some ideas on your own and working with a group. And introverts may prefer structured activities. Introverts might enjoy structured social activities where there's a clear purpose or agenda, such as a book club, a hobby group, or certain classes. These settings can provide a comfortable framework for interaction. So, introverts typically enjoy socializing in ways that align with their need for quiet sometimes, and meaningful interactions at other times. Introverts often need to set boundaries to protect their energy and well being. This might include limiting the frequency of social engagements or choosing activities that aren't draining or perhaps less draining. Understand these aspects can help in appreciating the ways introverts navigate social interactions and highlight their preferences are about managing energy and seeking meaningful connections rather than a dislike for people. What do you want? Where do you excel? What are your strategies for success? When do you need time alone? And when and how do you like to socialize and connect with others? Define it for yourself. As introverts, we are deep thinkers and internal processors. We have many great strengths as introverts, such as thinking, reflection, and great imaginations. This often sparks creativity and innovation. Introverts need quiet to focus, relax, recharge, plan and prepare, and think and dream. Introverts need socializing and connection, but may prefer smaller environments and meaningful connections and conversations. Introverts enjoy socializing, just not endless socializing. So let's understand ourselves better and those in our lives. You likely have a preference toward introversion or extroversion and are not just in the middle. Understanding will help you go far. Let's continue to bust such myths as introverts don't like people. Share your strengths, advocate for your needs, and develop the strategies that work best for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. I hope you take the time to explore other episodes and learn from some amazing guests. Remember, if you're interested in getting to know yourself better, there's now a free Type Finder personality assessment on the Quiet and Strong website. This free assessment will give you a brief report, including a 4-letter Myers-Briggs code. I'll add a link to the show notes. And I'd love to connect with you. Reach out at david@quietandstrong.com or check out the quietandstrong.com website. Send me topics or guests you would like to see on the show. There's so many great things about being an introvert, so we need those to be understood. Get to know your introverted strengths and needs and be strong.